The myth of meritocracy, why hard work isn't enough for Black women in America's workforce. Good evening, everyone. I'm truly honored to stand before you today to share insights that have fundamentally shifted my understanding of workplace equity in America. Recently, I had the extraordinary privilege of sitting down with Claudette Turner, a revolutionary economist and advocate whose research has not merely documented disparities, it has ignited transformative change across industries. Claudette's methodical dismantling of workplace myths has forced corporations, policymakers, and everyday Americans to confront uncomfortable truths about who truly benefits from our economic systems. Her courage in speaking truth to power has created ripples that have become waves, challenging institutions to move beyond hollow promises toward measurable action. What struck me most during our conversation wasn't just her intellectual brilliance, but her unwavering commitment to ensuring that data becomes a catalyst for justice. We've all heard the narrative, haven't we? Work hard, get educated, show up early, stay late, pay your dues. The American dream promises that dedication and perseverance will inevitably lead to advancement, security, and prosperity. It's a comforting story, a story that allows us to believe we live in a meritocracy where effort equals reward. But what happens when the data consistently, persistently, relentlessly tells us otherwise? What happens when we discover that one group of Americans has demonstrated remarkable workforce participation, educational achievement, and professional dedication for generations, yet continues to face systematic exclusion from the prosperity their labor helps create? This is the reality for Black women in America's workforce, and it challenges everything we think we know about how success works in this country. During my conversation with Claudette Turner, one insight particularly stood out, a truth that fundamentally disrupts how many of us understand professional advancement. Despite Black women maintaining some of the highest labor force participation rates among all women in America, this consistent work ethic and presence have not translated into job security or pay equity. In fact, even as national employment numbers rise, Black women are disproportionately losing jobs and remain severely underpaid compared to their white male counterparts. This isn't just disappointing, it's not just unfair. It's a direct challenge to the foundational American belief that hard work alone leads to advancement or protection from economic downturns. Let me share some sobering statistics from Claudette's research. In April 2025, more than 100,000 Black women lost their jobs across sectors such as care work, education, cleaning services, and food service. This represented the largest monthly decline among any demographic group. This happened while overall job growth was being celebrated nationally. Think about that for a moment. The economy was expanding, jobs were being created, yet Black women were being shown the door in staggering numbers. As Claudette told me with fire in her eyes, the first hired in desperate times, the first fired when the pressure eases. This pattern has repeated throughout American history, yet we continue to pretend it's coincidence rather than design. The challenges don't end with job security. Even when Black women maintain employment, they face a staggering pay gap that persists regardless of education, experience, or performance. According to the Institute for Women's Policy Research report that Claudette cited, in 2025, Black women working full time still earn just 69 cents for every dollar paid to white men nationally. 69 cents, let that sink in. This means a Black woman must work until August of the following year to earn what her white male colleague earned by the previous December. That's not just a statistic, that's 7 additional months of labor for the same compensation. 7 months of bills, childcare costs, elder care responsibilities, community contributions, all while being systematically undervalued. As Claudette powerfully stated during our interview, when we talk about the gender pay gap without acknowledging its racialized dimensions, we erase the specific experiences of women of color. The truth is that Black women aren't just facing a glass ceiling, they're confronting concrete barriers reinforced by both racism and sexism. What makes these disparities particularly insidious is how they persist despite Black women's extraordinary investments in education. Black women are among the most educated demographic groups in America, with college enrollment and completion rates that have consistently increased over decades. Yet the return on that educational investment remains dramatically lower than for their white counterparts. Claudette shared the story of Imani, a healthcare professional with 2 master's degrees and 15 years of experience, who discovered she was being paid $23,000 less annually than a white male colleague with fewer qualifications who had been hired after her. When she raised this discrepancy with management, she was told not to discuss salaries with coworkers. When she persisted, she was labeled difficult and passed over for promotion 3 consecutive cycles. This isn't an isolated incident, it's a pattern that reveals the myth of meritocracy for what it truly is, a comforting fiction that allows those who benefit from current systems to believe they've earned their advantage, while those who face barriers are somehow deserving of their struggles. The third key insight from my conversation with Claudette centers on occupational segregation and advancement barriers. Her analysis revealed how structural biases funnel many qualified Black professionals into roles with limited upward mobility. This is especially pronounced within care related fields, where Black women are overrepresented yet undercompensated and undervalued. The issue isn't just getting in the door, Claudette explained. It's about what happens once you're inside. Too often, Black women find themselves stuck in positions with no clear path upward, watching as less qualified colleagues are tapped for advancement opportunities. This occupational segregation manifests in multiple ways: lack of access to promotion pathways, disproportionate assignment into part time or temporary positions, and insufficient employer investment in upskilling and training. The result is a workforce where Black women's talents are systematically underutilized and underrewarded. Claudette shared how during the pandemic, employers made grand promises about diversity and inclusion, only to abandon those commitments when economic pressures intensified. The result: frontline workers, disproportionately women of color, were once again exposed to both health risks and economic precarity. The pattern continued into 2025, with Black women bearing the brunt of downsizing waves across industries. But Claudette Turner isn't just documenting problems, she's identifying solutions. And this is where our conversation shifted from diagnosis to prescription. First, transparency is essential. Organizations that have implemented pay transparency policies have seen significant reductions in wage disparities. When salaries are hidden, biases flourish in the darkness. When compensation is visible, accountability becomes possible. Second, mentorship matters, but sponsorship transforms. As Claudette emphasized, mentors talk to you, sponsors talk about you when you're not in the room. Black women need advocates who will champion their advancement when decisions are being made about promotions, high visibility assignments, and leadership opportunities. Third, we need targeted initiatives that address the specific barriers Black women face. Generic diversity programs often fail to address the intersectional challenges of both racism and sexism. Effective interventions must be designed with these specific challenges in mind. The good news is that where these approaches have been implemented, they've shown promising results. Claudette shared examples of organizations that have dramatically improved retention and advancement rates for Black women through intentional, data driven interventions. One particularly successful case involved a grassroots coalition that successfully lobbied several Fortune ranked firms into disclosing internal promotion and pay statistics publicly beginning in the third quarter of 2024. This transparency initiative not only revealed stark disparities, but created the accountability necessary to address them. Within 6 months, these companies had implemented comprehensive equity reviews that resulted in significant salary adjustments and promotion opportunities for previously overlooked talent. Another promising approach involves affinity groups focused specifically on leadership development. When properly resourced and connected to decision makers, these groups have demonstrated remarkable success in creating advancement pathways. Participants reported higher satisfaction and confidence in pursuing management tracks after receiving targeted mentorship and coaching support. As Claudette reminded me, leaning forward with intensity, the solutions exist. What's often missing is the will to implement them. This brings me to perhaps the most important insight from our conversation. The myth of meritocracy doesn't just harm Black women, it undermines our entire economy and society. When we systematically undervalue and underutilize the talents of any group, we all lose. Innovation suffers, productivity declines, our collective potential remains unrealized. The question before us isn't whether inequity exists. The data has settled that question definitively. The question is whether we have the courage to confront it. I want to leave you with this. What we call a system is simply the accumulated choices of people with power. Systems can be dismantled, policies can be changed, cultures can be transformed, but only if we first acknowledge the gap between our meritocratic ideals and our inequitable reality. The future doesn't belong to those who cling to comfortable myths. It belongs to those brave enough to face uncomfortable truths and transform them into action. It belongs to those who recognize that true excellence can only emerge when opportunity is genuinely equal, not just in principle, but in practice. Today, I challenge each of you to examine the spaces where you hold influence. Are you perpetuating patterns that keep talented individuals sidelined simply because they don't fit traditional molds? Or are you actively dismantling barriers? Are you questioning systems that produce inequitable outcomes? Or are you accepting them as inevitable? Your answers to these questions won't just determine the future for Black women in the workforce, they'll shape the kind of society we become. A society that either wastes human potential or nurtures it to its fullest expression. As Claudette Turner so eloquently put it, in the end, this isn't just about creating space at the table for Black women. It's about recognizing that the table itself becomes stronger, more beautiful, and more functional when it's built with all our talents combined. The choice is yours, the time is now, and the world is watching. Thank you.